are Nicki and Carlo, and our family live in Positano, Italy, nearly 500 steps from the road, but surrounded by fruit and olive trees and with a fabulous view. Our garden overlooks the sea and we grow our own food. We show you what life is really like on the Amalfi Coast. So please subscribe and welcome to the Positano Diaries. How on earth do you even start to tell your adult daughter about her birth father who knows nothing of her existence? The bus lurched around the hairpin bends of the coast road as the sea glittered temptingly below. A couple of tourists laughed and exclaimed uneasily at the sight of the steep drop down from the side of the road. Wendy gripped the armrest of her seat with white knuckles too, but it was with excitement at what lay ahead, not the fear of falling into the ocean. In 1986, on a hot day in mid-May, Wendy and Amanda arrived by bus in Positano on the Amalfi Coast. They're dog-sitting for an American couple who will be away all summer and have a house and a dog at their disposal. Amanda soon finds a job in an art gallery, but it doesn't turn out to be quite what she expected. Meanwhile, Wendy finds work on a fishing tour boat and has the best time ever, apart from decapitating the anchovies. In their free time, the girls meet a host of local characters and explore the area. They go on boat trips, visit Capri, and enjoy an illicit swim in the Blue Grotto. There are very Italian dinner parties and rides on Vespas and incredible food. The whole town is gearing up towards the opening of a new nightclub, The Paradise, and the opening night is set to be the most exciting event of the year. It seems like the perfect summer, but Wendy falls for someone who is definitely not available, and Amanda realises that one of their friends may be the local drug dealer, and everything starts to go wrong. So I wrote a book. It is called A Boatful of Lemons. This is the first proof copy, which I've already shown you, and you will have just seen the trailer for it that I made. So the book is based in Positano, and I'm very, very proud of myself because I didn't think I'd managed to write such a good chunky sized book. Anyhow, I thought I would answer some questions about it and just do a different type of video from usual and put it out on a different day from usual. So here we go. Question number 1. What inspired you to write this story? So, and I'm aware that this is a bit odd. If you haven't read the book, then none of these questions are going to mean much, but it could be interesting anyway. So we'll just carry on, and hopefully some of you will want to read the book afterwards. So I wanted to write this story because I wanted to prove to myself that I could write a book. I think that was one of my number one things. When I was younger at school, I was always told that I was good at writing. And on Instagram, on the little things that I write under the photos, people are always urging me to write a book. And when I had time during lockdowns and stuff, I decided it was the moment to try. So I tried and started writing. So that's what inspired me to do it. Also because my mum always said, wouldn't it be great to be able to write a book? Wouldn't it be great to be able to write such a long story? And I agreed with her. And I thought that she might do it one day, but unfortunately she wasn't around to do it anymore. So I've done it for her. Did I have the whole story planned out before I started writing it? Not at all. This book is nothing like what I thought I was going to write. It completely evolved into this whole other thing. And I did start trying to do a vague plan. And I sat there with Carlo. I remember clearly I was with Carlo. Carlo was in the pool. I think I was on a lilo floating around next to him or sitting on the side of the pool. And we were talking about plots and what we were going to do. And we came up with one idea. And then at one point I got stuck writing, and I left the couple sitting on a beach by a little cave for weeks and weeks. They sat there for a long, long time until suddenly I realised that that wasn't going to work, and I changed it. But no, the book sort of evolved as I was writing it. I would plan that I would write one thing, and suddenly the characters were off doing something completely different. So it was vaguely planned, but it did not follow the plans at all, which is really interesting because I didn't know that that would happen. So I'm quite inspired to try and write again to see what will come of the next thing that I think I'm going to write that will possibly turn out to be something completely different. It's really interesting. How did I arrive at the title? Well, the title actually changed halfway through writing it. I was originally calling it Starlight and Lemons because the nightclub in the book was going to be called Starlight, and there was lemons involved in the story, and so it was called Starlight and Lemons. And then for some reason I changed the name of the nightclub from Starlight to Paradise, and ended up changing the name of the book to A Boat Full of Lemons, which actually is sort of the answer to the first question in the book. That might be a bit of a spoiler, but you still have to read it to find out what I'm talking about. How did I choose the songs that are mentioned in the novel? Well, the songs are all from 1986, and they were the songs that I had on a mixtape which I brought to Positano with me when I first came here in 1986. I was young and I came with my friend Celine, and we had Walkmans and we listened to these songs on repeat, and quite a few of them are our songs from that year in Positano. Peter Cetera, The Glory of Love, Madonna, Crazy for You. They all remind me of something to do with that summer. Some of the characters in the book are real. Can I tell you why I included them? So there's a few people in the story that are or were real people. For example, Gloria, who is one of the ladies that the girls encounter, and Wendy actually ends up working with her on one of the fishing boats. She was a lovely friend of mine. She was a lady. She was, when I first met her, she must have been in her 60s, and she was just a real mainstay in my life the first 10 or so years that I was living here. She was such a great friend. She was always sitting on the little concrete bench on the jetty where the boats come in. She'd be there every afternoon and all through the winter, and I'd often go and sit with her and just chat with her and pass away a couple of hours with her. And she was sort of like a great substitute for a mother as well, especially after my mum died. She was just such a calming, lovely person to talk to. I just wanted to have like a memory of her in the book and bring her back to life a little bit, I suppose. There's a few other characters dotted around that are real people. I won't tell you who they are. One of them knows he's in the book and he's absolutely fine with it, but you could quite easily spot him working around town. And there's also quite a lot of places in the book that are real as well. And I just thought it'd be really good fun to, if you read the book, especially while you were in Positano, you could actually, if you wanted to, go around town and find a lot of the places. Another character who was real was the Wendy's saucepan man. So the Vep was he was actually a very early environmentalist, and he had all these hand-painted wooden signs that he'd paint in red, blue and bright green paint with slogans about looking after the environment. And he would march around town with a bell and shouting, and I just thought I had to include him in the book because he was there in 1986 and he was the sort of person that everybody would notice. His house was covered in all these signs, and he was just a very interesting character. Another character who is not really real but is a crossover from another book is Lily, the older lady that Wendy and Amanda meet a couple of times, and she helps them find a job. And she is from a book called Stones of the Madonna by Gian Mazzone, which is a lovely book based in Positano, I think just before the war, before the Second World War, if I remember rightly. And at the time, Lily was a young new wife who'd come to live with her husband, who was the doctor in Positano. And it was just a story about her, and it was beautifully written, lovely book. It's always remained in my head. And I just thought it'd be nice to re-meet Lily again as an elder lady in the 80s. So I included her in the book as well. But yes, I just thought it's more fun when you find out that somebody actually exists, or this place is actually real, and you could almost do like a little Boatful of Lemons treasure hunt going around town discovering all the places and people that are real. Now this one I've already been asked a few times. Why did I set the book in 1986? Because 1986 was the very first year that I came to Positano with my friend Celine. And there is a little cameo of me and Celine in the book in 1986. But yes, it was a very special year for me because it was my first time here. I did completely fall in love with it. I can remember crying as we drove away from Positano to go back to England to the airport. And I just so remember vividly the perfumes and the scents around town, like for instance, the scent of freshly baked pastries outside La Zagra in the morning, and the smell of tortellini and patata coming out of house windows, and what else do I remember? Just Fanta and tuna and mozzarella sandwiches on the beach. It was just a very, very important year for me because obviously that was the first time I came here, and that in a way set the frame for the rest of my life. So I just thought I would base the main part of the story in 1986 as a homage to my first year here. Are any of the main characters based on me and Carlo? There's a bit of me in all three of the main female characters, Wendy, Amanda and Mia. There's little bits of me in all three of them. And there's bits of Carlo in Francesco, and probably even bits of Carlo in Enzo. It's a lot of the little stories in the book really did happen, but a lot of them didn't. So I've made up quite a lot of stuff, but I've also included a lot of real stuff. What can I tell you that's real and what isn't real? So there's a certain scene where the priest is being dashed down to the church on the back of a Vespa. That didn't happen as far as I know. But the wedding scene beforehand where the wedding was cancelled did sort of happen. I've embellished it a little bit. I was extremely hungover once very early in the morning in a shop I worked in when Rod Stewart did walk in with his girlfriend, and I was barefoot with a mop in my hand. That happened. The scene where Wendy and Enzo are going around town on a scooter and dance with the fireflies, that happened with a friend Eddie. And then we went up to where I was living and I wanted to put henna in my hair, and I didn't read the instructions on the packet, and we covered my hair in this like henna mix which was mud and all sorts of stuff, and then read that it had to stay on for 5 or 6 hours. That happened. But yes, a lot of the other things are made up as well. So it's a bit of a mishmash of little events in my life that I wanted to write down to remember because they were too good to forget, and a lot of make-believe as well. You'll have to just figure out for yourself what's real and what's not. Why did I self-publish? Simply because I didn't send the manuscript to any publishers, and what I did, I sent the first three chapters to one publisher and never heard back from them, and just thought, you know what, I can't do this. The more people I don't hear back from, the more I lose hope in myself and confidence in what I'm doing. So I thought it would be best to just go ahead and self-publish it and hope for the best. It's definitely not a big money maker. That's not going to happen. Amazon charge, they give you 60% royalties, but the printing cost comes out of that. And if you sell a book for $12, you end up earning, after tax as well, about 60 cents. So it's definitely not an earner. I didn't do it for the money. I did it for my own satisfaction that I was capable of writing a whole book, and hopefully people will like it. But yes, I self-published just because I didn't send it to any publishers, and I don't know any publishers. Fortunately, I don't have any contacts in the publishing world, and I had nobody to help me, and just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it myself like I do everything else. Did I like reading as a child or a teenager? Yes, I have always been into reading. I have read all throughout my life. I'm not happy if I don't have a book near me or in my hand. And I was really, really happy when Kindle was invented, because to get books in English, even though I can read in Italian, but it's harder work, it's not as relaxing. So when Kindle was invented and I could get English books on demand here, oh, I was so happy. I started reading very early on, when there's photos of me age 3 sitting in my bed, in my bunk bed, glued to books. And I can remember when I was about 8 or 9, my mum was reading, my mum was a big reader too, and she was reading The Clan of the Cave Bear by Jean Auel. And I can remember sitting next to her and reading it over her shoulder and being absolutely fascinated by it, but she wouldn't let me read past the first chapter. There's obviously sex and things happening in that, it wasn't appropriate for an 8-year-old, but I can remember being absolutely fascinated by the first chapter of that book. And as soon as I was old enough, I got hold of it and read it, and read the next one and read the whole series. And I love reading, I love big chunky series, so Diane Gabaldon, Jean Auel, I can't think of any now, there's a whole load of them, but I basically every year now for the last 3 years, I keep track of every book that I've written, not on Goodreads, I just do it on my laptop, and I write a list of all the books that I've written. I highlight my favourite ones, and at the end of each year I publish it onto my Instagram stories for anybody who's interested. And I know I should probably do that on Goodreads as well, but I just haven't got time. So yes, I'm a massive reader, and it's now June and I think I've read about 46 books so far this year. I have completely given up watching TV and Netflix, because I would much prefer to sit somewhere comfortable and read. What was my writing schedule like, and where did I write? This is mainly where I sat and wrote my book. I think the desk at the time was there. I've moved it over here because there it was just getting too much sun. The sun comes in from there in the morning and I was just being blinded, so I moved it over this side and it gets less sun. So this is where I sat, and I'd write it here like this. And my schedule was not strict at all. I would try and force myself to write 1,000 words a day. Sometimes I would easily churn out 3,500, and sometimes I would just about hit 800. But I didn't force myself if I wasn't feeling it. So I have no idea how long it actually took me, because I did stop. I did get writer's block at one point when I said I left the couple in a cave, on a beach in a cave, for a good few weeks, and I sat there mulling over it, and then suddenly realised I just had to get rid of that scene and put them somewhere else. But other than that, I didn't really have much problem. It flowed very, very quickly. Am I going to write a sequel, or am I going to try and write another book? I'm not going to write a sequel to this one. I think for me, this story has finished here where it is. And can you hear those dogs barking? I have no idea. Anyhow, so no, I'm not going to write a sequel to this one. I think this story's finished here, but I have got another story in my head that I'm mulling around. I just need to get my head around how I'm going to present it. And I'm quite excited to try something different and write another story. So this one that I wrote, The Boatful of Lemons, is so different from what I expected I was going to write. And this is why I think I took so long to put it out in the world, because it's more holiday beach read, fun, easygoing, way more fun than I thought it was, than I thought of what I was going to write. And I want to try and write what I had originally planned to write. I know it sounds really weird, but yes, I'm going to try again with this new idea in my head and see whether I can make something of it. I obviously need to find the time to do that, because my life seems to have become much more hectic since lockdown, when I had all the time in the world to sit and write every day. I don't seem to have so much time anymore, but if I'm disciplined enough, I should be able to find the time to do it. So I will challenge myself to do it again. Anyhow, the book is available now on Amazon, on Kindle. I don't have it available anywhere else at the moment, and I haven't got an audio copy because I don't even know how to start doing that. I need to look into that. It'd be great if I could do one, but I need to see how. I'd have to get a proper microphone and all sorts of things to do that. And that's where it's available at the moment. Hopefully it'll get picked up by Netflix very soon. And if you don't want to read it, you'll be able to watch it. That would be the dream come true. And lastly, I want to say a big thank you to everybody who has pre-ordered the book. I've had, as of today, which is about, I think I'm about 6 days before release day, I've had over 500 orders, so that is incredible. I'm so pleased. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to everybody else who's holding out to wait for the paperback copy. And thank you to all of the patrons who offered to be my test readers and all gave me great feedback, which encouraged me to continue publishing this little book. Thank you to my first readers as well, Tracy and Julia and Erica and everybody else who read it before it was even ready. And also thank you to Jessie for editing the video, and also to Khalid for converting it to Kindle format. Khalid was suggested to me from a patron. He is an expert in Kindle and Kindle documents and also covers, and he was on Fiverr.com, and he was absolutely brilliant. Any time I had any questions or anything that needed changing, he was on it within half an hour. He was really good and I really recommend him. I will leave his details in the description box below. Thank you to everybody who has encouraged me to write over the last few years, and thank you to everybody for watching this video. I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.